Hey folks, welcome to Market Intraday Analysis by InTheMoneyStocks.com, your leaders in pure technical analysis, avoiding all that Wall Street hype. This intraday analysis video is for Friday, July 16th, 2010. Well, folks, the markets are getting slaughtered today. Bad earnings from the likes of Bank of America and Google, economic news that just is not up to par, and we are seeing this market get rocked today. The spiders are down $2.69 right now. The Dow is down 240 points, S&P down 28, and NASDAQ down 61 points on the day. Now, it's not just those bad reports that are really the cause of this drop, and I want to make that clear, folks. You have to look closely here and say to yourself, what is today? What is significant about today, and what was the key going up into today that let the markets rally? And you have to look and understand is options expiration. Now, over the last 2 weeks leading into options expiration, the markets were driven higher. Before those 2 weeks, the markets had been crushed insanely. We saw a huge drop in the markets over the course of a very, very short amount of time, and all the retail investors, all the amateurs were loading the boat on puts. That means that going into options X, those 2 weeks previous to it, really it was 1 week this week, and then the 4 days previously as the Monday was closed for the July 4th holiday, the markets were driven up by the institutions on extremely light volume to make sure that those puts expired worthless. And then the key was, and this was the kicker, folks, if you look to yesterday, you can see clearly the market ripped up in the final 30 to 40 minutes of the day on the back of that Goldman Sachs and BP news. Again, Goldman Sachs settling with the Securities Exchange Commission for $550 million, which, by the way, is a slap on the wrist. It's like anyone out there giving $100 in fines. That's it to Goldman Sachs. Remember, Goldman makes billions and billions of dollars in profit a quarter. $550 million is absolutely nothing. Now, across the board, a couple other things we need to be aware of are the BP news. The BP news was good, but if you look at the BP chart here as well, let's bring up the BP chart. If you go to the daily chart and you can see BP is lower today, BP had a huge run into this mess, a huge run into this announcement that they closed off all the oil. And again, that's the reason why you see a sell the news type event. Everyone was anticipating this. Now the news is done, and the market is coming down on BP. BP down $1.40 today, $1.44. Going to the intraday chart, you can see that run late yesterday that helped lift the markets along with the Goldman Sachs run. If I flip to the Goldman Sachs chart, there you can see Goldman gapping higher today. And Goldman is still up because, again, that slap on the wrist was a very, very positive thing for them. But aside from that, you have to say to yourself, what else good news is there? Yes, financial regulation is passed. Okay, that's done. It's out of the way. People know now. That's somewhat of a positive because it's not the unknown anymore. Goldman Sachs settles with the Fed, the SEC. Then you have the BP news. But besides that, earnings are not that great. Bank of America, take a look at this. BAC today down $1.35. That's an absolute thrubbing of this, absolute demolishing of the stock on Bank of America. Then you have other ones like Google, G-O-O-G here. Look at the drop on Google, down $31 and change. That is a big drop for Google today as they missed earnings yesterday. The economic news, as I've covered in the nightly video, has not been good. The other thing I want to point out, folks, for those of you that watched the nightly video in the Research Center, those of you that are Research Center subscribers, you know that we had a minor turn date for today. What's a minor turn date? It's a pivot down since we were moving up on a day like today, going into the weekend and next week based on just a small move to the opposite direction. And sure enough, you're seeing that. We had a pivot a week ago from last Tuesday that told us the markets were going to move up. We moved up and then for basically 2 weeks. Today was the first day we had a minor pivot, and I announced that in the nightly video. And sure enough, you can see today that is now playing out beautifully. So another pivot nailed by Chief Market Strategist Nick Santiago. They're part of the In the Money Stocks team here. Now again, markets continue to trade at the lows of the day. If we flip to the 60-minute, you can see the ugliness there, really collapsing. And one thing I did point out to a lot of the members at In the Money Stocks in the chat room and in the Research Center, you had a nice in spirit of bear flag here. Nice drop, and then yesterday the run up, and then again you can see how it's playing out to the downside today in massive fashion. You had a little bit of a pause right there at this necktie right here, but ultimately after a pause and a bounce, it broke through, and we are now trading down into this little bit of a pivot. Take a note here. See this pivot right here from this pivot high? That's exactly what you're coming into. That's the 107 support. You broke the even number and you went a little bit below 107. Now you're back above 107. For those of you that are members, you know that the 107 level is the even number play, and a pierce of that is a buying opportunity. That's working out beautifully. So again, plays galore, money galore, more profits. How did I play this, folks, going into the turn here? Again, minor turn date to the downside. Over the last couple days, I accumulated some SDS. SDS is 2 times short the S&P 500, and look at this thing rip today. today, up $1.59. I did take half of my profits off the table. I'm letting the rest run with a break-even stop. And again, this is just another example. This trade was posted as it happened, literally the second it happened. An alert was sent out in the research center to buy this when it was done. And again, you can see the profits as a result. So continued great action here in the research center. You want to get aboard and make money. Next week, I suspect, will be an even better week, and continuing to build on the profits here at In the Money Stocks, because the earnings season is only going to make things more volatile over the coming weeks and months. All right, let's go back to the spiders. A couple little last things. As you see, you're getting a little bit of a bounce here. Again, the 107 level is a little bit of support. If I flip to the daily chart, take a look. This pivot right here, that's exactly what you hit. You pierced the 20 moving average as well. We are getting a little bit of a rally on the daily chart off of that key level. Also, if we go to the dollar is fractionally higher today. And I'll flip to the intraday on the UUP. Gapped lower, but then made a nice little move up, and we're just coming off those highs, coming down a little bit. You can see how as the dollar comes in just a tiny bit, this market is getting a small little bounce. All right, a couple other things to go over besides that. You have GLD. GLD is getting pounded. Now, this is another great call in the research center. Nightly video over the last 3 nights, I said to everyone, I said, guys, you're making an in spirit of bear flag here. This is going to drop. I have a negative bias on gold. Take a look at the in spirit of drop, sideways consolidation underneath a necktie formation. That's telling you you're going to drop here on gold. Look at the drop on gold. Where did it go? It went right to my first target, which was the pivot low right here. Could continue to go lower, but right now you are at support. The USO is trading down about 40 cents on the day. A little bit of a drop on oil, but compared to gold, not really that much. We'll continue to follow it and see how it plays out, but that is what is going on right now in this market. Again, keep an eye on the afternoon session. Volume is light this afternoon, even though we are seeing some downside, big downside in this market. As I mentioned, the Dow is down sizably along with the S&P and the NASDAQ. Dow down 228, getting a little bit of a bounce. NASDAQ down 58 points, and S&P down about 27. All right, folks, that's all. Come join the research center. You want to get involved, start making some money. It's there to be had. Take care.